Share. You're live, Aaron. Hi, guys.
I'm sharing on Facebook, on my Facebook page. I'm sharing.
So, hi, guys, and welcome to the second episode of Mad World Thursday. I'm Summer Jarvis, and this is
Aaron Weeks putting down my phone.
And we are your hosts for Mad World Thursday. Like I said, this is our second episode. And so we actually have a really fun episode for you today. Let's fix that problem though first. Here we go. How's that? Did that help? Just a little bit better? It'll be okay.
Shoot me, guys. It makes me look younger.
All right. So we have a good episode for you today. First off, we are actually going to have an interview with Mr. Stephen Barcelo, who owns the Paranormal and Cryptozoology Museum in Littleton, North Carolina, where there was recently a Bigfoot sighting. And then we have our usual 5 weird news topics of the week. And then we also are going to be talking about the paranormal docuseries Hellier. So let me fix the light problem real fast.
You will find that most of my communication is best when it is nonverbal.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay. All right. So like I said, we record part of our show live. So tonight we're going to be doing our 5 weird topics of the week. And you can check out the podcast when it drops on Thursday to get the interview for Mr. Barcelo. And also talking about Hellier, the docuseries that I actually really loved and Aaron was a little bored with. But so to do this, we're just going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to record actually how we usually do the show is we have our show notes, which can be scripted, and then we just kind of discuss.
And I'm having printer issues, so I have my phone with my notes. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm not texting.
So here we go. We're going to go ahead and start this recording. And we'll go back to YouTube. All right. So, hello and welcome. I'm so sorry. Let's try that again. Hello and welcome to Mama Night Owl presents Mad World Thursday. I'm your host, Summer Jarvis.
And I'm your co-host, Aaron Weeks.
This show is a break from our regular fiction podcast, Mama Night Owl Oddities and Curiosities Shop, which is a fictional podcast telling the story of Mama Night Owl and all the strange things that happened to her small southern town of Gloaming Falls. The story ideas for the town of Gloaming Falls comes from things that have actually happened or have reportedly happened on our very own, very real planet Earth. We thought that since we aren't the only people out there interested in strangeness, we should share some current, old, and favorite high strangeness topics that interest us. We will also occasionally discuss some of the things that might inspire past or future episodes of our regular podcast. You can check out that podcast and any new information at mamanightowl.com.
Here at Mad World Thursday, we get a chance to sit back, relax, and talk about our favorite subjects, from conspiracy theories, cryptozoology, paranormal events, and just all around news from the mad world we live in. For this week's episode, there's been a slight change in plans. We were going to review 2 books on conspiracy theories, but realized we needed some extra time in order to discuss them. So our main topic this week is the TV docuseries Hellier. Also, we're going to talk to Stephen Barcelo, the owner of the Paranormal and Cryptozoology Museum in Littleton, North Carolina, where there was a recent Bigfoot sighting. We also have our usual 5 weird stories of the week.
Okay. First off, just to review last week, we talked about the coronavirus and conspiracy theories surrounding the coronavirus. So Erin wanted to touch base a little bit on some of the most recent things that have come up on that topic.
Yeah. Well, and this is unsourced because I just kind of follow a bunch of weirdos on Twitter, and that really helps with, I guess what I can say about it is I'm kind of like a molder, like I want to believe. I really do. And a lot of times I'll throw it out there and see how it sounds. And sometimes I really do believe weird stuff. But a lot of times I'm just like, let's see what happens. But I still want to talk about it because it's interesting. And so as a result of that, what's happened in my life is that I have noticed that a lot of times people will tell me something or send me something or did you know this? And yeah, I knew it like 3 months ago. But back then it was just still kind of something crazy. And so I didn't say anything about it. So like, there's recently, you sent me a news story, Summer, about a Harvard professor who was arrested in conjunction with stealing 21 vials of COVID-19 virus and taking it to China, to Wuhan. I knew about that a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't, really say anything about it because I didn't know, I didn't know enough about it to say anything about it. But, also it's just kind of where are we going to go with this whole thing? There are so many theories right now. One of the coolest ones I read it yesterday, was I've only seen one article on it and 3 Twitter people have spread it around. Did you know that, ready?
Mm-hmm.
This, what is it? Hydroxychloroquine?
Yeah.
Is used to treat radiation poisoning. Like that's one of its clinical uses. Hello, 5G.
Okay, so if anybody's been keeping up with the 5G thing, did you see the article where there are people actually burning down 5G towers?
No, I didn't see that.
In England?
No.
Because they're so the idea is that 5G is being used to spread the coronavirus. And 5G is basically a step above 4G,
but below 6G, which is like military grade weapons radiation stuff. And so it's kind of dangerous. I mean, legitimately, it's kind of dangerous.
So hydrochloroquine is used to treat.
It's one of the ways that they treat damage from radiation.
And supposedly 5G is how we are spreading the coronavirus.
Or it's weakening our immune system, so we're more.
Oh, that's right.
We're more susceptible to it, if viruses are real at all. Because that was another last week conversation.
Yeah. So check out all of the coronavirus conspiracy theories.
Our friend Dakota, I had to say his name. He sent me, his thoughts on it earlier today. And another one of the theories is that, and there are a couple of them, and I'll be brief. That this is kind of a practice run for if we ever do like really have to quarantine ourselves or hide from some kind of enemy, that like this is a practice run so that we can all get used to the idea. There's another one that says that, you got your black hats and your white hats, and that the black hats were going to do something horrible. There's going to be a mass bombing or something. And the white hats found out about it. So they came up with a reason that we all needed to stay home because we've had 0 school shootings. We've had no mass shootings anywhere, no bombings, no nothing, because people aren't gathered anywhere publicly. So
for the shooters to shoot.
And so one of the, like, if you've noticed, each state is incrementally tightening, the restrictions. Like South Carolina, of course, I love being from South Carolina. We're the last state in the union to say you have to stay home. And we're really not good at enforcing it. And so the idea with that is that, first of all, it was no groups, 10 or more, and now it's groups of 3 or more or banned, and now it's, stay inside unless you're going to get medicine for your grandma or something. And so I wonder if there's some kind of continuing threat that no one's telling us about, that, crazy people are going to start shooting at joggers in parks. I doubt it. But there's a lot of stuff going on, and we're still with the man-made virus, or at least the China said it came from us, and that really, really angered President Trump. Really angered him. So China said it came from us. He got mad. He said, no, it came from you. And then maybe it did come from us.
Like maybe we started the pandemic.
Maybe it did. And there was that thing that I told you about last week about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation did that practice run. Remember that where they were doing a practice run of a pandemic?
Yeah.
And it was of a COVID virus.
In Wuhan.
No, the practice run was in America. It was the Military World Games was in Wuhan at the same time.
The military
that in
World
America
Games.
we were practice running this whole pandemic of a coronavirus. So, I mean, it's just a lot of strangeness out there. There's a lot of weirdness going on out there. I don't think that it's fake. I do believe that the number of people they reported as dead are dead. I believe that happened, and I believe they died of that virus. But there's still plenty.
But now there are some reports that some of the death, some of
the numbers
are some of the numbers are inflated. There was a child in Connecticut, I believe, the youngest child supposedly that passed away from the coronavirus. Turns out, technically wasn't true. The child did pass away, not from coronavirus. The child passed away from being accidentally smothered by their caregiver, which is terrible and sad.
And it happens, though.
It does happen. And
did he have coronavirus?
After his death,
he
was tested for coronavirus and was found positive. And he was all over his death was all over the news. Or this baby, I can't remember if it was a boy or a little girl. Their death was all over the news as a coronavirus death. And
that's another thing. We went over last week that we're social workers, and we also work in, I won't say public health, but we work in home health, which means that we have to follow a lot of public health guidelines and understand a lot of public health research. So one of the issues is that not every state counts a death the same way. So like there are some people who have very mild or no symptoms of coronavirus, but they have tested positive for it. And those people may pass away from something that isn't corona if they end up having a heart attack or a car accident or any other way that they pass away. The state is still going to count them as a corona case because they had the virus. So I'm not saying don't trust the numbers. I'm just saying that in these early stages, it's very difficult to set up parameters to separate them out to know for real. So that's been interesting. I have a friend who does hospice in Virginia, and he has a nursing home that's actually in his neighborhood. Every single patient in that nursing home is positive. And as of today, 32 patients have died. And the weird thing that they're doing that I don't understand, because those patients have ranged in age from 50 to 85, they're not sending anybody to the hospital. If they catch it in the nursing home, regardless of their, physical level of care, they stay in the nursing home.
And this is not a facility with just all hospice patients.
And it's not a facility with all, it's just a nursing home. And so they're not set up for ventilators or anything. So, that is the level of concern that I have when it comes to not necessarily conspiracy, but what are some of the public health policies that aren't being talked about?
Yes.
Because if you're 55 and you're in a nursing home because you're doing rehab from you had a stroke or something and you're in there for 2 months physical therapy and you catch the coronavirus, why aren't they sending you to a hospital? That's a problem.
It is.
Okay, enough of that.
All right. So, like I said, if you want to know about the conspiracy theories surrounding the coronavirus, we covered that last week, and you can find that episode at mamanightowl.com. We're on Spotify. We actually are accepted at Apple iTunes now, but it's not going to show up probably till tomorrow because it just happened. So Apple iTunes is a little slow right now. Okay, so let's do the top weird stories of the week. Checking my time because we have to call our friend Steven in North Carolina soon and do an interview.
Yes, we do.
All right. Top weird stories of the week. The Andrew Cuomo nipple mystery.
Just waiting for you to read that.
The governor of New York, who has been trying to deal with a horrible pandemic and the highest numbers of infected with the coronavirus because of the high population of New York City. On top of this horrible disease, he is trying to help his citizens fight the spread of. He has had to deal with everyone staring at his nipples. That's right, his nipples. Last Tuesday, Cuomo did a press conference wearing a polyester white polo shirt that fits snugly on his upper body. You could see some odd protrusions under his shirt right near his nipples. This caused a whole storm of conversation and deliberation about whether or not he has nipple piercings. His ex-girlfriend, Sandra Lee, asks everyone to stop body shaming Cuomo. Stephen Colbert says it was tape to cover his nipples that just happened to bunch up. So like if you're a marathon runner, you cover your nipples for so they won't get chafed.
You just said the word nipple entirely too many times.
Nipple. So supposedly it was just tape and it got bunched up because there are people have actually dug up pictures where he has wore the exact same shirt at other press conferences and there was no nipple mystery.
So what you're saying is the story here isn't really the nipples. The story is how much attention has been paid to the nipples.
How much attention has been paid to the nipples, and I'm not going to lie.
Honest to God research into the man's nipples.
I'm not going to lie. I looked.
I did too. I really looked because I'm like, it looks like he's got the Janet Jackson deal. Like it covers the whole areola and there's an X. You know what I'm talking about?
Or I thought it looked like the barbell. Like
but two of them because you can see an X, dude. Yeah, look more than you do.
But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I looked at the man's nipples. I was curious. Like, I mean, I don't want to kink shame anybody, but I was curious. Cuomo, do you have pierced nipples? Come on. All right,
it's a platform he can run on next time.
I have pierced nipples. I'm cooler than you. I'm a cooler grandpa than you are.
Ain't no shame.
All right, number 2. O.J. Simpson tweets that Carole Baskin did it. Now, if you haven't been living under a rock, you know who Carole Baskin is, okay? April 1st, 2020, O.J. Simpson started tweeting that he believes that Carole Baskin, the arch nemesis of Joe Exotic on the Netflix documentary Tiger King. Let me read that again. April 1st, 2020, O.J. Simpson started tweeting that he believes that Carole Baskin, the arch nemesis of Joe Exotic on the Netflix documentary Tiger King, did in fact kill her husband. For that one person living under a rock, Joe Exotic, a trash television docuseries about a man who ran a zoo and his crazy, illegal, and dangerous lifestyle. A woman named Carole Baskin, who tried to shut his zoo down, was accused of killing her husband back in 1977. Now, for the kids listening, the reason O.J. Simpson saying he believes Carole Baskin killed her husband is so important is because O.J. Simpson was accused of killing his ex-wife and her boyfriend.
I need to interject.
Yes.
There are so few opportunities in this life where we get a true example of irony. Pay attention, children. This is irony.
O.J. Simpson tweeted, "There's not a shred of doubt in my mind that lady's husband is Tiger Sashimi right now. I'm just saying." He posted that in a video. He posted that in a video on Twitter. He also said, "White people, what's with you and wild animals? Leave them animals alone.
That
All
is-
right, white people, listen. O.J. Simpson says, leave them animals alone.
It's not the first time I've been admonished to leave them wild animals alone by a
Yeah.
person of color. You
She-
know,
We rescue possums.
little baby
So-
ones, and they end up in
They're adorable.
places.
Next time we have a baby possum, we'll have
We'll
to bring
share.
it on. Yeah, we'll show you. We will teach
So
you
when
all
did
about
OJ
baby
get out of
possums.
jail?
OJ's been out of jail for a while. I actually looked this up and I've forgotten most of it.
I thought he was still in jail. I was like, wow, they let you tweet in jail now?
That was my first thought. No, he's actually out. And he tweeted with blue gloves on, which made it even crazier because for anybody who knows anything about the O.J. Simpson trial,
If it
he
don't
had
fit,
to
you must
try on a glove in the trial. And so he's tweeting with these pandemic blue gloves on, talking about Carol Baskin and how she killed.
Pandemic Blue, the new line by Sherwin Williams.
So earlier this week we said that we needed to come up with sushi rolls
Yes, that was
dedicated, named after
The
the
Tiger King. Yes.
Now we need to come up with colors
With paint colors for your paint chips. Yes. You
from
know,
the Lion King.
snot
I mean,
green.
from the Tiger King.
From the Tiger King, not from the pandemic.
No,
Paint swatches. Oh, okay.
no, wait. I do like pandemic blue. So yeah, wait. Is it going to be like phlegm green?
Why not?
So like coronavirus paint colors.
Is that a cat?
Where?
Dude, your light was totally moving.
I know the dog. The dog's under my
Dog.
computer.
Okay.
The dog's under my computer desk.
Leave them wild animals alone.
Yeah, she's not wild. She's lazy. Okay. Number 3.
This.
The Earth is moving less now that we are on lockdown. This is kind of interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Seismologist, my dog is at it again. Be still. Okay.
Some Kentucky goblins all up on
We're going to talk about the Kentucky Goblins later. Okay. Seismologists say that the general hum of cars.
That was,
Do you hear-
was that me?
No, that was Gypsy. You hear my dog? Okay. Seismologists say that the general hum of cars, trucks, trains, and heavy machinery has reduced so much now that half the planet is on lockdown that they can record the difference. There has been a 30 to 50% reduction in ambient noise on the Earth since the lockdown, and this can help seismologists in tracking minor earthquakes and volcanic activity. So they couldn't even track accurate information because we were all moving around so much, creating this hum and ambient noise. And now they can actually get better readings because we're all just being still. I kind of feel like maybe we should make this like a day of remembrance after this is all over.
Well,
Everybody
I
just
think
stay home.
think about I don't know if we talked about this on air or not. Like 10 days after the quarantine started in Italy, the canals started running clean and the dolphins came back.
Yes, I saw that.
Something about the air quality in New York is better than it's been in 100 years.
There are all these, because there's no tourists in Japan, all the deer that everybody have been feeding have been coming and trying to find food. So the deer are taking back over. There's a bunch of monkeys in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah, or was it Thailand?
I don't know. I
Oh.
know India's got a bunch of monkeys that'll come down at trees and get you.
And then there,
But they started putting
the
coconuts and
goats.
stuff out
There
for
were
them.
some goats in Scotland, maybe, that are taking back over this town because there's nobody there. So the mountain goats are coming down from the mountain and like eating people's bushes and flowers and looking at people's looking at
I want to live there.
looking at people's living rooms. Like,
There's
hey,
not
what's
a
up?
bush that is more important than a goat. I want to live there.
Okay. Number 4. A dog was found behind the wheel after a high-speed chase.
I gotta admit, when I first read that you sent me, I thought, how is he behind the wheel? I'm imagining him on the ground.
Oh.
She means steering wheel.
So a 51-year-old Washington state man named Alberto Tito Alejandro led police on a 100-mile-per-hour car chase, and when the car crashed, they found the man's very sweet pit bull behind the wheel of the car. The man claimed that he was not driving, but that he had in fact been teaching his dog to drive. Alejandro is facing charges of DUI, reckless driving, hit and run, and felony eluding. A witness to the crime reported that the dog was in fact behind the wheel of the car and Alejandro was sitting in the passenger seat operating the wheel of the car. Who had their foot on the gas? I mean, he had to have his foot on the gas. So he was in the passenger seat holding on to the steering wheel with his foot on the gas while his dog's sitting there behind the wheel.
Maybe he had one of those driver's ed cars with, well, no, because then there would not have been hitting and running.
Maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't a driver's ed car because I looked up what kind of car it was. It was,
well, no, but rigged with pedals on the passenger side.
and it seems like it would. Then he really was teaching his dog how to drive.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
he was legit teaching his dog how to drive. How drunk do you have to be?
or delusional. There's probably a diagnosis that fits somewhere.
Okay,
But the picture was great.
the picture was amazing.
The picture was great.
and
like a golden retriever or a Labrador or something sitting there. The picture was great.
yeah, there's going to be links to all of these in our show notes. Also, every police officer that stopped him said that the pit bull was absolutely adorable and sweet, and everyone loved it. And it went to a local humane shelter so that it could be adopted
Oh,
because
great.
Mr. Alejandro didn't need it anymore. Not if you're going to teach your dog to drive.
You know.
We can't do that.
Well, that dude last week taught his dog to go buy chips.
Oh,
Or
that's
Cheetos.
right.
I
That is
mean,
right.
And he brought back change.
When your dog can run for chips and bring back change, that's when you got to
Next logical step.
All right. Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos are restoring Colombia's ecosystem.
I love that one.
Okay, this is a little confusing because you're looking at two separate ends of science and ecosystems, basically. But Pablo Escobar, who was an infamous drug lord, Colombia.
The Medellin
Lord.
cartel.
Lord, let me start over.
Where is it?
Pablo Escobar, who was an infamous drug lord in Colombia, had a family zoo. In the 90s, when his empire crashed, the animals in his zoo, which included rhinos, giraffes, zebras, and hippos, were all located to local zoos. 4 of Escobar's hippos were not transported and were left to run wild. Those 4 hippos multiplied into 80. And according to some sources, these hippos are restoring Colombia's ecosystem. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Scientists disagree. Some say that they're restoring an ecosystem. Some say they're actually ruining it and that they're an invasive species. I kind of tend toward they're ruining it, an invasive species, because this is how they're supposedly restoring it.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Okay. The findings are that these animals are restoring ecological functions that were lost thousands of years ago. The belief is that these hippos are playing the same roles as the mammoths, giant sloths, and giant wombats from about 116,000 to 12,000 years ago. And so this argument goes directly against other past studies that showed that the hippos were an invasive species with their poop fertilizing harmful algae and bacteria. So we're saying that these hippos are somehow restoring an ecosystem from animals that died thousands and thousands of years ago on one side. But the other side is that the hippos are hurting animals that are there now in the ecosystem that is there now. So should we be restoring an ecosystem from thousands of years ago or fighting an invasive species that's there now? I kind of go with, we've got to worry about what's happening right now.
But see, what's interesting to me is that hippos are from Africa. And if I'm not wrong, they're from the savannas, like the plains and the savannas, not the jungles. So it's interesting to me that they're thriving in the jungle. That's one thing.
Well, they do eat. They go out of the water onto land to eat on land. They eat the vegetation on land.
They don't hunt. They're not predators.
Mm-mm. Although they are the most deadly animal in Africa.
Well, yeah, because they can steamroll you.
Yep.
No, the major thing I took from that, other than that's kind of cool, is that Cocaine Hippo is my band name.
Yep. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. Nope. I think that's interesting. What makes the rainforest?
I want to be Cuomo's nipple. Can that be my band name?
I thought you meant literally.
I want to be Cuomo's nipple.
Oh, there's a buttery nipple. Can we make a drink, a Cuomo nipple?
Yes. That can be our quarantini. Cuomo's pierced nipple. That's the quarantini of the night.
Yes. I forgot what I was going to say about hippos. Okay. Did we skip one? We get them all?
We got them all. That is all
right.
5 of the... That is all 5 of the weird stories of the week from Mad World Thursday.
7:29.
And it is 7:29. So we are actually going to be doing an interview with Stephen Barcelo, who is the operator of the Paranormal and Cryptozoology Museum. Nippos. See, we have the chat going on over
I
on
kind
the
of don't want to
side.
kill the chat when we call him.
Well, I mean, we could do the interview live. You want to do the interview live?
We should do it live because it's all going to get edited anyway.
Okay, we'll do the interview live.
So
we're going to call him.
For Amber, who just joined us, we're calling a guy who owns and runs a cryptozoology museum in North Carolina and had a Bigfoot sighting last week. So This will be interesting.
All right. Now, we're doing this the lo-fi way, like we're not Zooming or anything. So basically, it's just going to be on my phone on speaker, held close to the microphone. So.
Best we can do.
She says a what now?
Oh, what? Oh, a cryptozoology. Go ahead. That's your thing.
So basically, cryptids are animals that, well, I guess you could say don't exist in nature, or at least are hard to find or rare, very rare. Like, say,
believed to be legend.
Yes, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster.
Sasquatch. Oh, Sasquatch is Bigfoot. The Abominable Snowman.
A Bigfoot sighting, Amber. In North Carolina, they just had a Bigfoot sighting, not a big food sighting.
No.
Although I would visit that too. I want to go visit the place with big food sighting.
Yes. Lizard Man. Lizard Man has been debunked.
But I still love the Lizard Man. I mean, he's our man.
Well, yeah. And I love Harry's.
Harry and Harry too, Bishopville guys. Totally think you should go visit.
Plug for a restaurant right there.
They need to sponsor us.
Yes, they do. They totally do.
They do. All right. So we're going to call Steven. Like I said, we're doing this very lo-fi. Hey, it's Steve. Just checking to make sure we're still doing it tonight.
Aww,
Y'all.
Yes, we
Steve,
are.
We are. We're calling him right now. Let me text him right now and say, yes, we are calling you right now. Calling you now. So like I said, this is very lo-fi. I'm just going to put this on speakerphone and hold my phone up to the microphone. We didn't Zoom or anything like that just because we didn't have a whole lot of time to coordinate that with him. So here we go. He's awesome, sweetheart of a guy. You're going to love him. Let me give him a call. That's my wild thing. He's got big feet.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, I have you on speakerphone. This way I can sit here. You don't hear the fan in the background or anything like that?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, good.
So Mr. Barcelo, if you do you want me to call you Steven? Do you want me to call you Mr. Barcelo? What do you want me to call you?
Fine.
Okay.
Very casual.
So we just want to let you know that as soon as this pandemic is over, we plan to visit you and your museum in Littleton, North Carolina. You are our first trip.
And by we, she means me too.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
My name is Erin. I'm the sidekick.
I'm so sorry.
Hello.
So you're talking to Summer, which you talked to earlier today, and then Erin, who is the co-host of the podcast. And the podcast is Mad World Thursdays, and we talk about all kinds of things that are crazy in this world on every Thursday. And so we just wanted to ask you a few questions about your museum, but also about the most recent Bigfoot sighting.
Sure.
So the first thing I wanted to ask is, I know that you're the commissioner of Littleton, North Carolina.
Right. I'm one of the commissioners. We have 5 commissioners and a mayor.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So
But
I was just wondering how things are in Littleton since the pandemic.
it's kind of confusing. I mean, all the non-essential businesses are shut, and that was kind of confusing, figuring out who could and who couldn't be open. It's very hard. Littleton's been very lucky. We've been moving forward. We have a lot of new businesses coming in, a boutique hotel being built, Airbnb just opened up, and this doesn't help things. I mean, obviously, it's across the country. I think we're going to bounce back fine from it. We're trying to make the right decisions. But the government doesn't shut down. I mean, we still have to run the water sewer plant. I still have to make sure I'm the street commissioner and helping out with water sewer. We still have to make sure the roads are clean, everything's mowed. The water sewer plant obviously has to be operational, and we all work together and help each other out. So, I mean, the town hall's still open. We're working on limited things. We're making sure everyone's safe. We had to set up like a maze in the town hall. So when you come in, there's cones, no more than 3 people in the lobby. You kind of rotate through. We make sure we have hand sanitizer. So once people pay their bill or any kind of transaction, we tell them, please wipe your hands in the sanitizer, walk out, use your back of your elbow to open the door. We're doing our best to be the safest we can. The next step is to totally shut down the town hall if we have to. We're in the middle of nowhere. I'm from New York originally, so I've been in touch with folks that I've worked with when I was a journalist with New York Daily News and other things. Who, I mean, it's amazing. Everybody there knows someone who's either died or in the hospital. It's kind of like going back to the 9/11 days, and very surreal. Here, we're not at that point yet. We have people in the town that are affected. We're in the county of Halifax. I think our numbers are 13 confirmed at this point. We've been very lucky to have no deaths, but it's just getting here too. So we're kind of automatically social distancing here just because of the way the town is. But we have a lot of people in denial too. It just don't, and it's unfortunate. Some of the older folks, though, the ones most at risk, and have breathing problems and stuff. Trying to do the best we can, even reach out to people. Do you need something? Stay home. We'll drop it off on your porch. We'll wipe it down with wipes. You wipe down again. And, don't worry about the money. We'll figure that out later. Just make sure people have the basic staples and try to do the best we can.
Economically, are you doing okay? I know here in Sumter, South Carolina, we've already had at least 3 restaurants, maybe 4 now, I think, who say they're just not going to open their doors again. Several of the hotels here are struggling. Are you guys, do you know if everything's pretty on an even keel since it's a smaller town? Do you get lots of tourism? Do you get lots of tourism in Littleton?
I'm the tourism. I'm tourism in Littleton. It's a town of 650 people.
Oh, okay.
We've kind of brought it in. I mean, I was, like I said, I was a journalist in New York Daily News. I was not coming here to open a cryptozoology paranormal museum. I've done documentaries. I've done documentaries in the paranormal. Had an interest in that. Now, on the crypto end, I'm from Long Island, New York. There's no Bigfoot sightings on Long Island. We're lucky to see squirrels. So, my one documentary on Bigfoot was done in Whitehall, New York, upstate on the Vermont border. And I used Paul Bartholomew to help me out. He wrote a book on it. So I had an interest in it, but it wasn't my backyard. I ended up buying this old historic house, very reasonable, big 3-story house down here. And wasn't living here the first year after I bought the house. I hired some local contractors. They were having issues seeing shadow people. Hence, we started doing ghost hunts and ghost tours. I talked to the neighbors. Everyone had a paranormal story. Like I said, it was nothing touristy, so we kind of started it with ghost stories. Now we're into Bible Belt. I was kind of concerned how that would be taken, and some people were upset by it. Most were okay, but thought it was odd. Next thing you know, the Bigfoot sightings start coming in. I know how to tell a story. I'm a journalist, So people start coming in. We start pushing that end of it, which has been a huge draw, to be honest with you. It's been nonstop. And the sightings have been here forever, just nobody talked about it. But basically, getting back to the tourism end, we're dead. I mean, people are coming in, but we're getting phone calls daily, but I'm not going to open up because I have to do the right thing. I have to lead from example and make sure, we get people from other countries. We have a globe in this museum. People, I hear an accent or something talking, so you get to pin the globe. And it's just amazing what we bring in here. So it's really beneficial to the other businesses, in town. This is why we have hotels coming here now, a boutique hotel. But, we have a little restaurant in town. I'm very concerned about him. He just moved to a new location, spent a lot of money, and he's really hurting. I mean, it's rough when you're a big restaurant, just sunk all this money, over $1 million into the place, and now you can't let people in. You have to bring food out to the curb. That's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had a restaurant open up here, too, that I don't think they were in business a week.
Yeah, maybe. And in our little town, all we do, we don't do anything but eat. That's all we do.
Yeah.
We get excited when a restaurant opens up. That's all we got. And so everybody was excited. And then, everything is shut down. Are y'all, like, you hear about the relief package that was sent out, but what we're hearing now is there's so much red tape in getting through the SBA and the requirements that the money's there, but the access to it isn't. Are y'all prepared to access it when you're able?
6 months to a year, if not more, for these places to see any money. Yeah, I don't know. It's the way the government works.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still fighting over stuff. I don't think a single check's going out to a person yet.
Mm-mm.
And $1,200 is not going to keep you afloat. I mean, it's not going to hurt. I mean, and they act like it's a gift. This is our money. It's the taxpayers' money. I mean,
no, my excitement was that if the small business plan sounded excellent. But sure. Because if you'll keep people on the payroll and pay them what you normally pay them, then it becomes a grant and you don't have to pay it back. It sounds amazing on paper, but the banks, don't have any guidance on how to issue these loans. And that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a mess. And people call us in town, want to know. We have no idea. We don't know what it's out to send them. And then you try to get online or call these numbers. You can't get through.
No, they're all flooded.
We had a festival coming up April 25th. We had to cancel that. Theater's closed, and Lakeland Theater across the street. So now we moved to October 17th. Now I have to reach out. I have, Brian Cano coming in from Haunted Collector. I have Ronald Murphy coming in. It's just, it's just nuts. I've had airfares. I'm trying to get my money back from the airfares. They're going, well, you can't have the airfares. We'll give you a credit. I don't need a credit. I'm not flying anywhere.
Right.
I need that money back into the account so I can pay back people. That, thank God most people are ready. We're going, I'll come in October, no problem. But it's an issue across the board, and we've never dealt with this. Even deal with a town lawyer. We reach out and say, can we do this? How do we have a meeting without letting the public in? They go, well, just don't let them in. Because our building's not big enough. At a 6-foot stand, so it's older folks. It doesn't make sense. So our next meeting is going to be, I guess it's next week, and we're going to try to use Zoom. We'll see how that works.
A lot of people are trying it. Yeah.
But it's all uncharted waters. We don't know how it's going to work. And I'm shut down. I'm just doing what I can. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to tell everyone, go to my YouTube channel, Steve Barcelo. We got to try to keep fresh videos up and push that. I wish I had an online store, so at least I could be selling T-shirts and mugs and stuff like that online. But we had it kind of set up a year ago. It wasn't really user-friendly, and we just never got back to fixing it.
Well, if you do, we will buy merch.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions was how could we and our listeners support you during this time, and if you had an online store?
Yeah, we're going to try to set something up. Basically support us the best you can. Watch our YouTube channel, like, share, and subscribe. Promote that. We're still taking donations for the festival coming up, which was obviously just supposed to happen recently. And now because we're losing money, the money we brought in. Ken Gerhardt was supposed to come. He can't come. He's got previous engagements. He was actually at some of the airfare, him coming out of San Antonio, Texas. And, so it's like, who figured? And basically I went through a regular, group to actually book the airfare and stuff, and it was like, you can cancel up to 72 hours. Well, that's out the window now because nobody's flying, and they're not offering that to me. So, I mean, I got time to fight it. I mean, but, I don't need airfare. I mean, I guess I can use it down the road if, I can use the same airline, but it just makes no sense. I mean, but this is all stuff we've never dealt with. So we're just trying to do what we can to stay afloat now. But then again, like I said, I'm a commissioner. That's a non-paid job in this town. So it's not like I have a salary coming in from that either. And but it's important. So right now, the most important thing right now, the museum kind of takes a back seat. We still are promoting things, taking phone calls, still taking sightings in. I'm still going out and doing interviews the best I can. And but it's the museum itself where it's the part that comes in that brings, it kind of supports itself, sells T-shirts and odd things, ghost meters, Bigfoot cookie cutters, beer cozies, you name it. And but that part's kind of it's shut down like most little mom and pop type shops are at this point.
Now,
and we can survive. We'll survive because it's not like we lived off this or anything. It's self-supporting. It's a little nonprofit. So I never drew a salary or anything out of it. So thank God. I didn't have any employees, which puts me out for loans. But, we just have interns that work in the summer, that sort of stuff, and people that help out here and there.
Now, the museum started as a paranormal museum originally, right?
Well, there wasn't even a museum. It really started off just us doing ghost hunts, ghost tours. Like I said, there was nothing in town. Since I had a background in the paranormal, I had the equipment from doing these documentaries, I said, let's see how the town is on this. I don't know if we take off or not. And as you guys know, it's a very niche market. And it brought people in. People were very interested. Plus, we weren't doing just walking tours. We were bringing to haunted locations and giving you K2 meters, Mel meters, laser grids, SB7s, some basic ghost hunting equipment, showing you how it works. So it was hands-on. They got to do what they saw on TV. So it became very popular. And it grew from there. So we ended up having 2-hour ghost hunts. Then we went to 2-hour, 4-hour, and then we went to 2-hour, 4-hour, and overnighters. Which kind of rough on me doing overnight. I had to be a function the next day, but it was still popular. The overnighters were primarily for the ghost, the paranormal groups to come in. And they usually have a van load of equipment, and but it's been working. It's been popular, and it puts Littleton on the map. A little town on the Virginia border. And in North Carolina here, it's just, the town wasn't known for much. If you looked at the news feeds back then, it would be kind of crime was the stuff that usually was popped up. Now we have Bigfoot sightings and, some of my celebrities coming here from the Travel Channel and other things. It's been very, very positive. I mean, it's really been good. I'm not saying it was my game plan. I was escaping high taxes and a dying newspaper business. Got this house dirt cheap, and we're 387 feet above sea level here. After dealing with Hurricane Sandy on Long Island, I was done with being near the water. I have to get flooded once or twice. And that's how I kind of found the place. I always loved North Carolina, but I looked other places too. And I'm halfway. I got family in Florida. I got family in New York and New Jersey. So we're kind of the halfway point, and we're right between I-95 and I-85. So we're conveniently located right off the major highways.
Well, can you tell us about the most recent Bigfoot sighting?
Sure. The most recent sighting we've had was an older gentleman. His name is Jesse Walker. And I believe, I was looking for his age. I think it's 82. I don't want to, I could be off by a year or so there. He's a character who's lived in this town for quite a while. And a very nice guy. Always well-dressed, likes to walk around with an umbrella, which I always give him a hard time. Said, you know something we don't know. I just got to be prepared. And anyway, not a guy that's going to make things up, not a Bigfoot guy by any means. And he used to be a school teacher. And for a little while, I had a little antique store in Roanoke Rapids. But basically, we're shut. I'm in the house. This museum's in the house we live in. It's an old 3-story old house, roughly 1850s. Which we have an underground stream in the basement, a hidden room in the house, weird house. But anyway, go back to that later.
Cool.
So I'm in the house and I hear the dogs barking. We rescue dogs. You're probably going to hear some as we do this interview. But I go to my daughter. I said, "What the heck are they barking at now?" And she looks out. And she goes, "One of the neighbors here." So I go out front and I see Jesse. And he's kind of walking around the side of the house. I have a sign saying we're closed. I go, "Jesse, what is the matter?" And he's crying. Oh my God! Now I'm a commissioner, so I get everything. From Family Feuds to I figured maybe a cat got run over or who knows, So I go, what's the matter? He comes up to me crying. He goes, I saw Bigfoot. So I kind of look at his lady friend like, you guys screw with me? But that's not the kind of thing they would do. I said, well, come on in. Let's see what you got. And I started talking to him. He's really upset. He's really emotional. And so I grabbed my daughter and said, Heather, come in here. I want to get some notes. And I talked to Jesse, I'm going to film you on my phone. He goes, okay. I want to get the answers out of him. So I start talking to him. And you can see the YouTube video. It's very raw. It's not a great interview by any means. But at least I wanted to get it right then and there. And I got him talking about it. He saw this thing had big feet. It was dark. It was hunched over, and it took off. And he could barely speak. Later, when I got one of the local newspapers to come in, Reg came in and actually interviewed him. At that point, he calmed down a little bit. We got more of a stable interview out of him. But he's basically, the thing was dark fur, which is consistent with the other sightings in the area, hunched over. Going by the reenactment we did, I don't think it's real big, somewhere in the 6.5 to 7.5 foot range. He said it was hunched over, hairy face, large hands, large feet, the things he picked up on. He went out to put garbage out behind his house before he got in the car with his lady friend, and he saw this thing, freaked him out. He ran to the car, got in, and told her, drive away. She said, what is the matter? He goes, just drive, take me to Steve's house. And he came over here, and he told me about it. So within a half hour, probably about 45 minutes or so, we were back over at that place, looking around for evidence. You could see something went through the woods behind his house. Didn't find any good prints. The leaf litter is so deep back there in the branches. But we do have game cameras up now, so we'll be taking them down the next 2 days or so, at least changing out cards, and see if we picked up anything. Now, the unusual thing, the house he's staying in right now, and he's staying there so he doesn't look like he's living with his girlfriend in sin, which is kind of hysterical. As old as they are. He's telling me, we don't have sex. It's like, whatever, don't need to know that, And has nothing to do with what I'm asking. But he's living over there, and the woman who owns the house is letting him stay there. Fancy is a friend of ours, and she's been out of town for a couple of years now. It's not. She's happy to have someone there to kind of take care of the place. And she said, "Don't you remember? I told you a couple of years ago I had something in my backyard, and I've been feeding it." I go, "Holy jeez, I totally forgot about that." And she wasn't sure what she was seeing, but she would put food out there. And at the time, she was working at a local restaurant sort of store here where she was making food and preparing food and stuff. So when she had leftovers, she put it there. But she was able to tell me it didn't like rice, but it would eat this and eat that. So I don't know what she was feeding. At the time, I figured maybe it was homeless or something. She was actually the one that told me what I was telling her at the time. So now all of a sudden we have a sighting. Now this is, like I said, the fourth sighting that we know of in the area. Now we've had one, which kind of started thing, was Tiffany Merrill. And that was January the 8th, 2016, 5 o'clock in the morning. This is when I was first down here. This woman, this is the block behind us now on Moore Street, so we get a lot of flack over this. You got to remember the museum's here because of the sightings. It's like we built the museum of the Bigfoot King. But they've been around. The sightings that go back 85 years. Tiffany Merrill's case, she was up early in the morning talking to her mother about who was going to take her daughter Bella to kindergarten, obviously trying to get mom to do it. In the process of having this conversation, he hears this noise in the woods behind her house, looks out the back window, which is her kitchen window, sees this large bipedal creature, dark fur long enough where it was like 6 to 8 inches long, moving so quickly it was drafting behind her. Horrified, her mom says, "What's the matter?" Thinking it's an intruder. And she explains to her mom what she's seen. Her mom says, "Call Steve around the corner. He knows about these things." Well, he didn't know me. I didn't know her. Her mom called me, obviously 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not exactly prepared to go running out. So by the time I get the phone call, I go running over there. I go into journalist mode. First time I met Tiffany Merrill. I get the interview, and we reenact and go through all of it. I run the story. Local newspaper picks up on it. Well, that ends up going national. The News and Observer out of Raleigh comes out, which is a larger paper, and then CBS comes out. The CBS piece goes across the board. That brings in MTV, NPR, Travel Channel. It just took off from there. And that puts us on the map for all these other people that start to come in. Now, we get some wackos, too, but for the most part, these are legit sightings we're getting in. And there's a lot of consistencies in here. Now, recently, Ebony Bird is another one you can see on a YouTube channel. And that is November 1st, 2019. She actually had this sighting on Friday. I happened to be out on the road that weekend doing another investigation, and my wife was running the museum. the weekend. So that Monday, I was back and I was literally walking out to check on the mailbox out front. This woman pulls up and says, "Are you the guy that runs this place?" I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "I'm Ebony Bird. I have to tell you, I saw Bigfoot." I go, "Really?" I go, "Where?" She goes, "Right back behind your house." I said, "Do you mind if I film you on my phone?" So I literally, it's a terrible interview. Pick up my phone. I'm just getting a copy of the interview. And she goes on about how she saw something. Once again, not real big, but the same consistencies. Long, dark hair, very wide chest, long arms. She claimed it had a little bit of a limp. And this thing comes out by the stream, by the cemetery there. There's a church back behind us. And walks down to the same area, back into the same area of the woods where Tiffany Merrill had her sighting January the 8th. Now, we have another woman had a sighting. I can't use her name. But basically, she's come out multiple times now, and that's on College Street. Now, this is 14 years old. Her husband was alive at the time. He was wheelchair bound. She was taking care of him. And this large, hairy creature walks by the side window. Excuse me. She goes by her, looks out her back window to watch this thing walk off her property. And she says, same sort of thing, hairy, long hair. But she can see the buttocks through the fur because the fur is thinner on the rear end as it walks off her property. Later, she gets the nerve to go out and look for prints. You couldn't find them. Now, the substrate here is clay. So the conditions have to be right. A very heavy item, or you can drive your car across your property and leave like almost nothing, unless the conditions are right. Anyway, she doesn't find prints, tells people at the time about it. They tell her she's crazy, never tells a soul again. Until Tiffany Merrill has her sighting. Then she comes back, talks to Tiffany to tell her, "I know what you saw. Don't let people tell you you're crazy." And then talk to me. But sightings have been here. Now, this is just a small area right around the museum here. Now, you go down to Medoc Mountain State Park and down into Hollister where the Halawasa Pony tribe are. I've got interviews that go back, amazing stories, and there are a lot of them on my YouTube channel that go back 85 years. And it's just nonstop. The sightings have been here. And I have people that amaze me. Now, we get the trolls. Especially now, there's a lot of people home, bored, so they're watching stuff going, this one's on drugs, he's drunk, they're doing that, it's someone in a suit. This is gun country. No one in their right mind is going to dress like a Bigfoot and wander around. I get people come in all the time, say, "I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to shoot me a Bigfoot, and I'm going to take it on the road as a tour." Please don't shoot some guy in the woods wearing a furry coat or something, But it's like, this is not the place to play pranks like that.
Yeah.
You're here. I'm the messenger. Now, I go out and I do research. If you call me and say you saw something, I run out and I want to interview you. I will follow up. I have a vehicle just for this now. I have casting equipment in there. I'm a journalist by trade, so I'm going to film you. I'm going to photograph. We have thermal cameras. We have flare cameras. We have night vision. We have all the stuff we need to go out and do what we have to do a proper investigation. We're getting stuff. We're finding things. We had a group come in, Watts Productions out of Virginia, came in to kind of do what you guys are doing, but doing on the video end. Wanted to do an interview with me. They come in here. They got here early. They're almost 2 hours early. We open at 1 o'clock normally. I said, "You guys have got enough time. Do you want to run down to the park, Medoc Mountain? We just had a sighting like a week before. I didn't, but people I interviewed." They said, "Sure, it'd be great." So they follow me down. We hike in. On the way in, we actually come across another guy who's a Bigfooter. So they got to interview him. So I'm bringing him down the trail, and it's basically a lot of, if you watch the video, he's into slow-mo and stuff. And we walk through, and I'm going through stuff. And I come across this area I was just at, like 4 days earlier, and all these trees on one side of the trail are snapped off. Snap, broken. It's not wind shear. It's not a microburst. The trees above are fine. There's dead trees in there that are okay. It's mostly healthy trees that are snapped. Some are as big as 6 inch. So I'm going, holy geez, what the heck is this? And the leaf litter is intact. So I'm walking around. I'm taking a video on my phone. Even with the camera women said, "I knew you had something when you just walked away from us." One of the women they were filming was very skeptical. She's looking around, and she's going, "If something broke these trees, there must be some kind of markings." And she finds the first print next to one of these trees. And we had to have to move the leaf litter away. It's a 19.5-inch print. And it's just amazing. And then I had to hike back out, leave them in the woods by themselves. They freaked out. I had to hike out, grab my evidence kit, come back in so I can cast these prints. And in the meantime, they found others. I was only able to cast 2 that day. And then I called some other guys in and could follow up and get some of the prints for me. But it's just constant. We constantly getting reports. Tree knocks. We don't get any of the hooping and howling here. We do get a lot of whistling. It's just, if you're a believer or not, how do you blow this off? And even like Woody from Watts Productions is even saying, like, you can be as skeptical you want. He goes, we're in here just to do a video, and we found prints. We're hearing something breaking branches in the distance. It's funny. They start talking on camera, and then the next frame, they're actually talking. They're whispering. It's like you're waiting for me to come back. Like, and they told me later, he goes, we don't know where we are. We didn't know how the hell to get out of here. We're hoping you would come back.
Well, with the recent sightings, did anyone say that they smelled anything?
No, we had no smells in any of these, which is now the one we just had with Jesse. He was close. Now, he was no more than 45 feet away. Now, Ebony Burge, he was quite a distance away in a car, and we have had other sightings that go down by the park, and the older ones, there's been people there talking about smells. But none of these recent ones, most people are either in a house or in a vehicle, or there's some kind of distance there. Now, when I've gone up to follow up on these things, I've come across, unfortunately, no hair. We've had hair brought to us, but it's kind of suspect. We've been lucky to find prints. I'm not talking about I saw the Bigfoot here, here's the print. We go off looking for broken branches, and we've actually... The one of Tiffany Merrill's case, the leaf litter was so deep it was wintertime. Not that we have heavy winters here, but we didn't find prints, but we could see footfalls in the leaf litter, and they're a good 8 foot apart. So that's a huge stench. And who would be running through the forest early in the morning, dressed like a monkey? It's just there's too many coincidences there. But yeah, the smell once in a while, but it's not a common thing. If you would have asked me a year ago or 2 years ago, what do you know about Bigfoot? Well, they're nocturnal and this and that. Well, most of these sightings are daylight, so I'm switching gears here. There's something going on, and now now we're having sightings even more brazen since people are doing this, stay-at-home stuff.
We were talking about that earlier, about how one of the big things that's happening in a lot of towns that are really quarantining is that wildlife is coming into the town, because they feel safer to do so. Y'all need to put out some food for Bigfoot.
So,
oh,
that's okay. We also rescue animals. You're in good company.
We, so like I said, we plan to go and take a visit, hopefully in May. Hopefully this is all going to be over in May and we can come and visit. When we come, what kind of tours do you offer?
Well, normal tours to the public, we do moonlight walks at Medoc Mountain State Park. We have festivals, so we can take you out to show you where some of the Bigfoot sightings are. And we'll get there at dusk, and then we do a walk. They're usually somewhere about an hour and change. And those are, depends on when we do it, what's going on. And we can do group rates, too. And we keep it reasonable. It's kind of a donation to the museum just to help keep us afloat. Then we do the ghost hunts. Like I said, we do 2 hour, 4 hour, and overnighters. The 2 hours are $25 a piece per person. We supply equipment, and it's $50 for a 4 hour. And the overnighters depend on the location and what because we don't own these locations. So even with the $25, we get half of that. The half goes to the locations we're going to. But that's kind of what we got going at this point. We're going to try to step it up and do some different things now because of this new world we're coming into with social distancing. So that's why I'm trying to do more with the YouTube, and we're going to do more live YouTube stuff too, which I might even do one tonight. I was thinking of trying to mix that in with you guys, but I figured I'm not quite that technical. I've been outdoors all day trying to deal with some town stuff, and I'm kind of sunburned too, so I figured I'm a little more retarded than usual.
So we actually have somebody here who is asking, if you were going to feed Bigfoot, what kind of food would you try to feed him?
We know he doesn't like rice.
A lot of people gift. They seem to have good luck with apples, peanut butter. And we have actually one woman that gifts that all the time. She says she does better with Skippy. So apparently these
peanut butter. He likes Skippy.
Creatures are kind of uppity. They like quality peanut butter.
Not a gift man.
Yeah, so I don't know. Try to people put shiny things up. I know somebody who hangs old CDs from the trees, roughly around 11, 12 foot up in the trees. It's just something that reflects some interest in there. We basically do game cameras. We'll put them kind of like, I tend to use dog food, dry dog food, things like that. Something I can keep in my vehicle. It doesn't go bad too quick. try different things. I mean, if you watch some of these goofy Bigfoot shows, I mean, they're putting bacon out, donuts and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Beef jerky.
Yeah, it's just kind of silly. But I mean, try regular things. I would think you kind of want to put out, they've been caught going through garbage cans, eating roadkill on the side of the road. I mean, and which makes sense. If you're a feeder of opportunity.
Yeah, like a possum.
For you to be a big hulking creature and chase down a dog or a deer or something, you're going to burn a lot of calories. Let a Chevy do the work for you. It's a deer or a dog on the side of the road. And those are easy pickings. I don't think they should choose you about how fresh the meat is, I mean, so we actually had a sighting down on Route 4. It was a deputy sheriff out of Warren County. It was basically his shift is coming to an end. He's driving along. He sees something on the side of the road. The sun is barely coming up, and he thought it was a bear. So he kind of slows down. He's watching this thing and kind of turns and notices him, stands up on two legs and walks off into the woods. Just the hair on the back of his neck goes up. It's like, what the hell? He rolls over on the area there, and there was a dead deer on the side of the road it was apparently feeding on. And of course, now he doesn't want his name used. As a deputy sheriff, it's sort of like being an airline pilot. You don't want to talk about UFOs. It's not a great career move. But just say you saw Bigfoot. But that's not the only one we've got. We've had multiple officers come in here.
And that was that was a local officer?
Yeah, we're right on the border. We're in Halifax County. That's Warren County, which is 3 doors down. We had a Halifax County officer call us, and he found prints and saw something. And that was in Medoc Mountain doing a morning hike. And we went back there, and we were actually able to recover some of the prints. So.
That's neat.
Didn't get a live interview with him because of, once again, it was just him texting me and doesn't want his name used once again. So what you can see online, though, on my YouTube channel, are people that were willing to talk. And you'll see, I delete a lot of it when people harass them. And it really kind of pisses me off that people find nothing better to do than beat these people up. If you think this, they haven't seen something, fine, mention that. If you think, well, it could have been a bear, it could have been this, whatever. When they just get out there just to harass them for the sake of harassing them. And I've found it more so now with this, people home with the pandemic, people have just been downright nasty. And I've actually done a couple of videos about that. Like, it's time to be nice. Stop harassing people. This is not the time to be mean and stuff. Stop your trolling. And it's not like it's young kids. I mean, these are adults that know better. I mean, we're going through something we've never gone through before. It's not the time to be an asshole. And it just aggravates me. It really does. I mean,
yeah, I really, I don't know if Summer told you this or not, but we're social workers. That's what we do for our day jobs. And I don't know if you saw this, but I saw that, things like child abuse and alcoholism, they're up so bad right now because people just don't know how to be in a small, confined space with one another. The loves of your life, your children, your family, and they're just not coping well at all. And so I like to throw myself down these kinds of rabbit holes and find all kinds of stuff. I have a question. Other than Bigfoot, do you have any other, animal sightings that aren't of the average, normal, everyday?
Yeah, we actually, when I first came in, we had a lot of, it's going to sound silly, but Wolfman sightings, and I was kind of like taken back by that. But once you start talking to these folks, it's kind of Bigfootish. Maybe it's a younger one with a snout and stuff. But I did do a documentary on the Jersey Devil years. When we've had a bird-like creature, or kind of like the Jersey Devilish Mothman sort of thing, that's been reported to us in the area. Not necessarily Littleton, but down in Rocky Mount and up like Brown Mountain, we've had people do reports. We haven't had anything recently. Those are going to go back about a year or so. We have a database online so people can report things. And the dogs will be best.
Now, when you say you have a database online, where can people go to check your YouTube channel out and all of your information? Where can they go?
Okay, just Stephen Barcelo for the YouTube channel, which is STEPHEN Barcelo, BARCELO, 1 L, 1 puts 2 in, and you'll be able to see the stuff on there. As far as the my Facebook, it's Crypto Zoology and Paranormal Museum is my Facebook page, and we have others that will bring you to the bulk of them. And let me give you the proper web page. Well, so you want to go to http://crypto-para.org, and that's our regular webpage. And like I said, those will bring you to Haunted Littleton and some of the other sites that we kind of manage there and stuff. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out on your very busy Tuesday evening, especially having to deal with everything that's been going on with the pandemic. We really appreciate it.
Well, everybody be safe. I'm just give these, the warning I have to do as a commissioner. Please stay the hell home if you can.
Don't come see him right now.
Go out and exercise and stay in your yard. If you got woods around you. Some people don't. I'm from up north, so people have old postage stamps piece of property. But if you got to go out, if you got to stay away from people, put like they're saying that the CDC wants some kind of mask over you. Maybe just a bandana, basic. Stay away from people. Wipe things down. Wash your hands. Listerine works. I mean, if you have to buy Listerine and put it in a pump sprayer. There's some basic things if you can't find you need. But basically, the social distancing is important. Be nice to your neighbors. Call up people. Check on people. People been getting rid of animals. We take care of dogs. Peter was here today to help us out.
Wow.
And Peter's been great. But basically, don't dump your dogs. They're not going to get you sick. It's not the time to create more problem than other people have to deal with the dogs and stuff. If you think you're sick, if it gets really bad, try to get tested. But there's not enough test kits out there. It depends on who you talk to. They make you think like everyone get them, but they're not there. They really don't, especially in small communities like we have. If you have to, you think you're not feeling well, stay the hell home. If you have to, stay away from your family members. If you have two bathrooms, you use one, let them use the rest. Clorox and bleach works well. And use a weak solution, an ounce to a gallon, last you quite a while, and just wipe things down. It's better to be a little bit overly protective and be safe. And so we come out of this, your hands are a little dry and cracked. We'll live with it. At least you're alive, you're healthy, your lungs aren't damaged. And I'm not trying to scare people, but a little bit of common sense is going to go a long way. And stop buying so much damn toilet paper.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Exactly. And 60% or higher isopropyl alcohol is also something you can use to wipe stuff
vodka
down.
Works pretty good if you get a high vodka. It's an excuse to go to a liquor store. And, of course, any kind of Everclear or anything like that, too.
Yep. But if you're one of those families that's drinking too much right now, you may want to go another route.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
No
and
problem.
We hope to see you
soon as we can.
Crossing our fingers for May.
Well, we'll talk before you get down here. We'll see if we can do a special setup for you guys, get you out. And if you want to do a camp out or something overnight, put together a little production, we can set that up for you.
Awesome. Cool. This I'm really excited about this.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Be safe.
Thanks.
Okay,
you too. He was absolutely wonderful. I chatted with him for a little while this afternoon. As you can see, he likes to chat. He's a chatter.
He does. He's a journalist. Got to talk.
Yeah. So
that's
Chase
good.
Armour. Hi, Chase, who's in our chat. It would be cool. I agree. He is nice, Amber. I agree. He's awesome. So
that's cool.
I was going to say, let's do the next section of the podcast.
But
not
an hour and 12
live,
minutes.
not live, but we're already this far. I mean, should we keep going live?
Do y'all want to hear the rest that we have going, or do you want us just to let you go?
Let's see. So the next section for this podcast, we were going to discuss a paranormal docuseries called Hellier. It's free for streaming right now. So since we are in the middle of a pandemic and you have nothing else to do, if you are quarantined at home
and you have a strong attention span,
this is the documentary for you. So that was him, by the way. That was Steven. So, all right. Hellier. Okay. So, yeah, this is free for stream right now at hellier.tv. HELLIER. We want you guys to go and watch this. When we talk about this show, it's going to be a little funny because we come from two different sides of the fence. I love everything paranormal. And Erin loves conspiracy theories.
I don't not love paranormal. I mean,
So when we talk about this show, oh, sorry, Gypsy.
she unplugged the lamp earlier. She's trying to plug it back in. That's what was happening here. All the fidgeting, that's what's happening.
I can't see. I need a light. Somebody give me
Here.
a light. Okay. Here we go. All right. Now we have light. We can see what we're doing. Much, much better. All right. So it's going to be a little different. And the reason it's different is because I totally got into this docuseries. Erin, she was falling asleep. So
it goes so slow, and then when you've nodded off and you come back, all of a sudden they're got headphones on and listening. I can't even.
So this docuseries, it covers a lot of ground. If you like things paranormal, if you like things cryptid, if you like UFOs, if you are into things like the Mothman prophecies, if you are into things occult and witchcraft, this is something for you. So what we're going to do is actually just the very first episode of Hellier. It covers so much ground that we're just going to talk about the first episode. We're going to talk about the first episode, and then we're going to tell you guys, go watch it. Go watch the series. There's 2 seasons right
Here's
now.
my attention span. These are my notes. That
And these are my notes.
and that. That's it.
So there's 2 seasons right now. You can watch it on Amazon Prime. You can watch it. I think they actually have a Facebook page that has a link to it right now. And it's also just hellier.tv.
And yeah, we saw it on Prime.
We watched it on Prime. So I'm just going to go ahead and read from the script a little bit. Now, here's the thing. Spoiler alert, guys. If you don't like spoilers, turn it off. Because we're going to give you spoilers to the very first episode of Hellier. All right? Now, this week we are going to discuss the docuseries Hellier that you can watch for free at hellier.tv. The series is already in its 2nd season, but we felt it was important to bring it to you, our listeners' attention. Our fiction podcast, Mama Night Owl Oddities and Curiosity Shop, has an episode called The Package. In that episode, Mama gets a package with a strange little figure in it that is not only connected to strange little men attacking someone's home, but also caves in North Carolina, the Greek god Pan, the Mothman of Point Pleasant, and also a possessed child. The story in the episode of The Package is inspired by the docuseries Hellier. Now, like I said, Hellier covers a lot of ground in the paranormal world. The investigators start at one singular point and then go off on any clue that they get, leading them on a journey in so many directions, it's hard to keep track. It is hard to keep track. So today we're going to discuss the first episode and hopefully entice you to watch this series. Now, we take different viewpoints on this TV show, with me having greatly enjoyed it and Erin having a hard time staying awake. So we will give you both perspectives on the strange little documentary that is Hellier. All right, so first we're going to give you the cast of characters, okay? There's only a few people you have to actually pay attention to. And we're going to compare them to the Scooby Gang, okay? So for starters, you have Greg and Dana Newkirk, all right? These 2 are married. Greg and Dana are paranormal investigators and writers for Planet Weird or Week in Weird blog, and they're curators for the Traveling Museum of Paranormal and the Occult. Now, Dana and Greg are like Fred and Velma. Remember that. So we have Dana and Greg. They're Fred and Velma of the Scooby Gang. Then we have Carl Pfeiffer. All right. Carl, he's the camera operator. He's also a paranormal investigator. He's Daphne. If Daphne was a man and looks like a really cute member of Mumford & Sons.
Yes.
That's Carl Pfeiffer, the cameraman for Hellier. And then you have Connor Randall. He's Shaggy. He's a musician and a paranormal investigator. And then Tyler Strand. He's Scooby. Now, Connor and Tyler, you do not meet in the first episode. So you only have to keep up with 3 people. You have to keep up with Greg, Dana, and Carl as we talk about the first episode, okay? So, like I said, spoiler alerts, all right? The first episode of Hellier is called The Midnight Children. Now, the whole series, season 1 and season 2, surrounds their investigation into something strange happening in Hellier, Kentucky. All right, like I said, this is going to go off in all different directions. So I need to find my other notes. Another set of notes just for this. All right. So here's what happens. Greg Newkirk, all right, when he was a kid, when he was like 13 years old, he started this paranormal investigation website. They also looked into Bigfoot. He met Dana, his wife, Dana Newkirk, while doing this. So he's been doing this for a long time. They have this famous blog, Weekend Weird. They also have this traveling museum of the occult and paranormal. So he's the guy that if you have something strange happening to you, you want to go talk to this guy. You want to talk to the guy named Greg Newkirk, right? Okay. So one day, Greg gets an email. Now, here's something to note about this email. It's 2012 when this happens. Greg's, I don't know, I'm 39. I'm going to get, let's say Greg's in his early 30s when this is going on. The email comes to the email address for the website he was using when he was 13 years old. So that's where the email actually goes to. It doesn't go to his recent email, to the very famous blog that he runs with his wife, Dana. No, it comes to this old email address. And so it all starts in 2012 with an email from a man named Dr. David Christie, who claims that he has these strange little glowing men attacking his family and home in Hellier, Kentucky. In this email, he states that a man by the name of Terry Wriste, spelled Terrywriste, told him to contact Greg Newkirk, the paranormal investigator, about his little green man problem. Greg has a few email exchanges with David Christie, who went on to describe how these little green creatures were terrorizing his family, kidnapped his dog, and left small 3-toed footprints behind. And David Christie even had pictures of these footprints and supposed pictures of the little green men. However, when Greg tried to set up a meeting with Dr. David Christie to do an investigation, Dr. Christie ghosted him. Dr. Christie never responded. So that's what's happening right now. We got this guy who runs this. We got Greg Newkirk. Him and his wife, they run this really popular blog. They run this paranormal investigation museum and this traveling museum of the occult. And they get an email to an old email address attached to a website that's still up but not in use, telling them about these glowing little green men that are attacking a house in Hellier, Kentucky. So this doctor, David Christie, he says these little green men, they're terrorizing him and his family. He doesn't know what to do. He's got pictures of 3-toed feet running around in his yard, and he's got lawn furniture all messed up. They're they're tapping on windows, messing with his kids. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. All right. So next thing that happens. All right. Greg is very intrigued by the story. He can't get in touch back with Dr. Christie anymore, right? So he takes these pictures and he puts them on Facebook, which is what you do. You put them on Facebook, you put them on Twitter, and you say, hey, guys, I got this guy. I got this guy telling me that there's little green men running around his house. Who knows anything about this? That's when, so remember now we got Fred and Velma. Okay. Now this is when Daphne shows up. And that's Carl Pfeiffer. He's a cameraman. He's a filmmaker. He sees these tweets and these Facebook posts about these little green men running around. And he says, you know what? I think we should investigate this. Let's put it on film. Excuse me. So
That's Greg.
That's Carl.
That's Carl.
That's Carl.
How long has Carl known Greg?
Carl met Greg in 2012 at some type of event.
Okay. Just making sure he didn't know Greg when Greg was 13.
He didn't meet Greg and Dana until there was some kind of an event.
Okay.
And that's when he met them. That had to do with the, I believe it had to do with the museum.
Okay.
So that's how he met him. So he sees these tweets, he sees these Facebook posts, Carl does, and he says, okay, let's investigate this. This looks interesting. Now, like I said, this first episode is going to take us a whole lot of places. Okay. It's going to go from witchcraft to UFOs, those Kentucky goblins, the occult practices, the Mothman prophecies, alien hunters, and cave systems that connect parts of Kentucky with alien activity.
And synchronicity.
Yes, we are fixing to go all of those places, guys. Okay. So let's review, because like I said, this is a lot to cover. So we got us, Greg and Dana. They run a podcast. They got an email from Dr. David Christie who said, I have these
Ghosties and ghoulies and goblins.
awful
She's going to show you something.
little green men running around my property, and they're scaring the heebie-jeebies out of us. We need some help. Greg says, okay, I'm coming to investigate. Never hears anything back. All right. Carl Pfeiffer, filmmaker, says, let's investigate
anyway.
Right. So that is how Hellier, the docuseries, is born. So the entire first and second series is them trying to investigate this one phenomenon, this one thing that happened. And they pretty much take every single little clue that they get and poof, go off with it. So that's one of the interesting things that they talk about in the very beginning of this show, the very first episode, that what they talk about is that, so Greg discusses how paranormal investigators from all different areas need to start talking to each other. He says that Bigfoot hunters don't talk to ufologists, and ufologists don't talk to ghost hunters, and ghost hunters don't talk to any of the other fringe sciences. So the show exerts that if these people will start talking to each other, then some of these mysteries might start to become more clear. And it can't be more obvious than what happens next with this series. So, like I said, we already did the review of everything that's going on now. All right. Let's talk about, okay, so he sent the email. Okay, so let's talk about what the email talks about, all right? The email is saying that
It's very long.
the email was very
really
long,
email.
but it goes on to describe all these things about these weird little creatures, right? Attacking his farm. Well, it starts to sound a little familiar.
Very familiar.
What does it ring a bell about? Oh, you know what? The Hopkinsville Goblins. So that was the subject for this episode that I got Aaron to research. What exactly happened in the 1950s in Kentucky, Aaron? So here's the thing. The little green men are attacking this man in Hellier, Kentucky. In the 1950s, there was an incident involving little green men attacking another family in Kentucky. So tell us about the Hopkinsville Goblins.
All right. So the Hopkinsville Goblin. Summer sent me on this little rabbit hunt, and I fell down a hole, and I couldn't wait to get out of it. I've spent all week considering little green men in the Appalachian Mountains, which might be a common thread with all this. Is everything they do take place in the Appalachians?
I'm trying. Yeah, I think a good bit of it does. Yeah.
All right. So the first I'd ever heard of the Hopkinsville Goblins actually was recently, because I'd never heard of this before until, Stuart and I like to watch The Curse of Oak Island. Well, after that, there comes on a show now called Project Blue Book, and this is all on History Channel. So they actually did an episode on this. I didn't realize that's what it was, but when I started digging, I was like, oh, I've seen this on the History Channel. Okay, so here's my research. All right. The series on Blue Book did a good job of depicting the government's investigation, which basically decided it was a hoax. But so here we go. The basic rundown is that you have a family in a cabin in the mountains in Kentucky. The number of people in the home sometimes varies depending on the research you find, but it's a large group. It's 8 to 12 people. The owner of the home is a little woman named Glennie Lankford. Miss Lankford has 3 young children in the home, and her little children are from her most recent marriage, and then she's got older children, two adult male children, I think, who are there with their wives, and then another couple that is also visiting. So you got all these people packed into this little cabin. So they're having just a family gathering. Everybody's been working hard lately, and they get together, to be together. So as they're getting through the night, some say that there was drinking going on, but then the town, asserts that Miss Lankford doesn't do no alcohol and no swearing in her house. So it's debatable as to whether or not they were actually under the influence of something. So with all the bodies in the house, all these people moving around, it gets pretty hot and muggy. So one of the men goes out to the well to, because they didn't have any indoor plumbing. It's 1955, I believe, when this happened. So it's 1955 in the middle of, Appalachia. So he goes out to the well to get a cool bucket of water, brings it back in the house. While he's out there, he sees what he describes as a big old ball of light with, a tail made of every color of the rainbow going through the sky. So they all just kind of decide that it's a shooting star, and that's what it was. But a few hours later, the plot thickens. The dog begins to bark, and so the men go out to check what's going on. And when they go out to see what's out there, apparently there is a little glowing man or humanoid walking towards them. He's about 3.5 feet tall. He's glowing a white to whitish green glow. He's got very long arms, really big hands, and he's kind of floating. Some reports say that he was walking oddly, and then some say that he was floating, that he wasn't really walking. Don't know. So he approaches the house. They go get the guns. And when he gets about 8 yards or so away from them, he puts his hands up over his head, But the men are all freaked out and they shoot him.
I mean, that's the first thing you do.
Right.
When you see something strange,
you shoot it.
And in Kentucky, especially. But here in South Carolina, yeah, I mean,
you shoot it.
You shoot it. That's the first thing we do.
I mean, if nothing else, to see what's going to happen.
We're in the South.
So a couple weird things happen when they shoot it. When they shoot it, it immediately does a somersault backwards, kind of like a gymnast, pops back up and goes away. But then they also make a strange sound. When the bullets hit, they describe the sound as BBs in a can. There's like a metallic rattling.
Oh,
when they shoot it. Did you not hear
that?
So
it could do backward somersaults.
Yeah.
And it was metallic.
And so they described that its skin was kind of a silvery metal, what have you.
And it glowed.
And it glowed. So once they shot him and he, this old man rolled away. Once he rolled away,
this old man, he rolled
yeah,
away.
that's what this old man. All right, so he did a black flip and he rolled away. They said this out, and I told you about that. You have to edit that part out. For the next several hours, these creatures continued to harass this family. They would come to the door, they would knock on the windows, they'd get on the roof, they'd make all kinds of sounds. At one point, one of the humans went out of the house, and this was particularly creepy, I thought. And the little, goblin, whatever it was sitting on the roof of the porch, and it reached down and it dragged its claws through his hair. That's in there. Yeah. So basically what you have at the end of 4 hours is 3 children whose lives will forever be forged in trauma. Another gentleman who's never able to find a job because he too is stuck in the trauma. The house has been shot up because they started shooting these creatures from the inside of the house. Like they would hear it on the outside and they'd shoot a hole in the wall to try to kill it, or they'd shoot up into the roof or whatever. So that basically they had all of their buckshot and all of their 22 bullets. I mean, they exhausted their supply. Now, at some point, Miss Glennie made the observation, they're not trying to hurt us.
It took them that long.
It took them that, yeah. And maybe she was just realizing that, we're going to have to buy more ammo. But she did at some point realize they're not trying to hurt us. They're looking through everything. They're curious. They want to know what's going on. So they gather their bravery unto them. They grab the children, and all of them, be them 8 or 12, however many people are there, pile into the trucks. There's 2 trucks parked outside, and bolt to the police station. This is around midnight-ish maybe. And they tell the police officer what's going on, and they're all upset, and they're not, I mean, they were taken seriously, but the police, guy, the one little lone guy who's, trying to figure this out, he's like, okay, they're shooting at their neighbors. We got to figure something out here. And so they end up like convincing him that they weren't shooting at the neighbors. The neighbors are fine. So in frustration, they go back home. When the police arrive the next day, it's not just the police, because like this word has traveled. It's the police, it's state investigator, and Fort Campbell sends some Army investigators over there. And now the Project Blue Book involvement isn't recorded anywhere because it's Project Blue Book. So you're not talking about the Air Force here, but that's Project Blue Book was Air Force.
Right.
Project Blue Book was Air Force investigating UFOs. And that all started because of Roswell. So
now, what year was Roswell?
No, I looked that up because there's a lot of people who say this was just on the tail end of panic with the UFO stuff. Roswell was in 1947. So we're not a decade out from Roswell.
Now, what year was, I want to look this up. What year was War of the Worlds on the radio?
Right. And see, I was listening to a podcast about this earlier. Summer really made research. So I was listening to a podcast about that earlier, and they were talking about how this time we got, War of the Worlds. We've got all of these, think about all those crazy 1950s, alien movies that came out.
Original War of the Worlds. It looks like it was the original release. Wait, I'm looking at the book. Sorry, keep going. Keep going.
So anyway, so they go back home, and when everybody gets out to investigate it the next day, they left at like 3:30 in the morning. They left because the neighbor said that the things came back. Now, I don't know, and this was a newspaper reporting it, so I don't know if the neighbors saw the things coming back. Or if like they told them that they came back. But anyway, the neighbors report that they left because the things came back. So the investigation did not yield anything other than some fungus that bioluminesces green growing in the woods and a shot up house. There was no crash site for anything that would have landed. There were no footprints. There was nothing. There was nothing that indicated that these things were there. So, in the future, what you have is like, as of now, there's only like 2 people who were still alive from this event, and they were 2 of the very young children. The very young children have been sent to their room, so they didn't eyewitness the little beings at all. They didn't see anything. They just heard all the stuff. And they
were just lying in bed listening to the adults,
their whole family,
shoot up the
heck
house.
out.
Okay.
Exactly. And that was what what prompted Glanny to say, wait a minute, these things are not trying to hurt anybody. Can we quit shooting up the world? And so there's only one of the 2 will actually talk about it, and it's all in the notes. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but
okay. So actually, I'm going to be talking about her.
Oh, good. Okay. So
Yeah.
she's a Sutton, I believe.
She's Sutton's. She's now Sutton Stiff.
Okay.
Geraldine Sutton.
So she was one of the original Suttons.
Mhm.
So she'll talk about it, but she herself didn't see the little creatures. But it's just really kind of tragic what happened with this family, because Mama never went back. Mama sold the farm and moved into town so she wouldn't have to be there. And then now the other stuff that is somewhat suspicious about this is that one of the brothers, if not both of them, no, one of the couples, one of the older adults, they worked in a circus. They worked in a traveling circus. And so a lot of the
so they were carnies.
Yes, they were carnies. And so a lot of the hype is kind of like he saw a shooting star out when he went out to get water.
It scared him.
This
is right on the tail end of
War of the World. Well,
War of the Worlds was in
Roswell
38.
and all that.
War of the Worlds broadcast was in 38. Roswell was in
47. I'm sorry.
47.
Mhm.
And then this was 1955. And then
Yeah.
all of those science fiction movies were coming out.
Yes.
Right about now.
And this is the middle of the woods nowhere. So it's kind of like,
So the assumption is undereducated.
right.
That's
and
the
then
assumption.
the assumption is that, one thing leads to another. Maybe Miss Glanny doesn't allow drinking, but them carnies going to have something that they're pouring into something. So there's all kinds of like theories as to what it could have been. I don't know if you want me to get into that right now or not. But
Well, okay. So I know that one of the theories was that it could have been monkeys.
monkeys, yes. Yeah, apparently the circus that had come to town, and I don't know if this brother had worked for him or not, they had monkeys that they had painted silver. And then I'm just like, oh my God, the animal abuse. I had to stop for a minute. I was like,
So
why would you paint a monkey silver?
We're shooting at back flipping
Metallic sounding,
looking,
can crawl on top of your house.
not scared of you creatures, and monkeys escaped from the
circus
the
that had come to
circus
town.
that had come to town.
Right. But you can't shoot a monkey and have it roll away. I mean,
It's not going to go tink.
no,
gonna
it's
be-
not going to go tink, and it's not going to do a backflip and pop right back up.
It's gonna
It's-
go,
I mean, right. So it couldn't have been monkeys.
That's not like a dolphin. I think that was a dolphin. Sorry.
It's a monkey dolphin.
Mhm.
It's Weird Thursday. So I don't know. The one that seems to make the most sense to everybody is owls. That
Like baby owls?
No,
Because-
like there are these the eagle owl specifically, it can be over 3 feet tall.
Oh,
And
like I've heard of the harpy, but I think I want to look up the eagle owl.
yeah, and when you look at like the drawings, because these drawings of these things were weird. They have the typical large head that a gray has, but then they have these perfectly round eyes that are kind of, hereish, and they glow in the dark like, nocturnal eyes do. And then they have these big like would you like?
That's the eagle
These
owl. I
two-
don't know if you're going to be able to see
You're
it.
gonna have to
though.
do something about the light.
Yeah, it's not happening. Sorry, guys. You'll have to look that up.
But yeah, you see how it's kind of got the fins on it. They draw this thing with these funky ears that look like fish, like I don't know, they remind me of fish.
Yeah, we'll have it in the
Um,
show notes. We'll have some
we'll have
of
it
that
in the show notes.
information.
So anyway, these little goblins, their hands are really long, almost to the ground. So if you're looking at a silhouette in bad light, you're going to see the little things off the top of the head. You're going to see what looks like very long arms, and so.
But wouldn't that owl fly away if you shot at
You
it?
would think, and would it? And if you hit it, would it sound like metal?
And would it reach down and take its feet and scrape through your hair?
Right. to know to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Army came to the conclusion that, and the Air Force came to the conclusion that this was a hoax. That this was just, crazy hillbillies trying to get on the map, pretty much. And so that's why we come to this story. Come to me with my little part this weekend now because of the hellier creatures.
Yes. So, like I said, we have these little green men attacking this family in Hellier, Kentucky in 2012. Sounds a whole lot like the Hopkinsville, Kentucky goblins in 1955. So that's what Greg and Dana and the team of investigators, that's what they're thinking. They're like, aha,
we know this story.
We know this story. We think it's the goblins. Like, could it be the goblins? So here's where that starts to get interesting and where the story kind of veers off in an interesting way. So remember how I said Greg got an email from a guy named Dr. David Christie saying that his house is being attacked, goblins in Hellier, Kentucky. The reason he was told to contact Greg was a man by the name of Terry Wrist.
Say that fast.
Terry Wrist.
Be careful, YouTube will censor us.
Oh. So this man, Dr. David Christie, said that this man, Terry Wrist, told him to contact Greg Newkirk. So Greg is sitting there going, who the heck is Terry Wrist? Like, I've never heard of this person. I don't know anybody online who uses this as a handle. I have no clue who this person is. So he Googles Terry Wrist.
Because it's a funny spelling on wrist.
It is. It's Wriste. He Googles them and he says, well, who is this guy? He comes up with a book online written by a guy named Alan Greenfield. The book is called Secret Cipher of the UFO-nauts. Secret Cipher of the UFO-nauts.
I guess that would be the UFO pilots.
It was written in 1994 by a man, Alan Greenfield. And in this book, there is an interview with a man named Terry Wrist. Now, let me tell you, Aaron, what Terry Wrist says in this book that he has done after his military career.
Okay. Because I really got lost in all of this. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Hook me up with the
ready?
words. Yep.
Terry Wrist claims that, well, first off, let me tell you what the book's about. I'm sorry. Let's go back. When he Googled the name, he came up with a book written by a man named Alan Greenfield. The book itself was called Secret Cipher of the UFO-nauts, and it was basically about using rituals or occult practices to summon extraterrestrials.
So that's all up Dana's alley.
So there you go, guys. He's supposedly a mutual friend, tells him to contact Greg. He Googles the name. It comes up with a guy who
know there's a lot of people in the conspiracy world that believe that like aliens are actually demons and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So he finds an interview that's documented in this book. And the book is about contacting extraterrestrials by using occult practices and rituals. So Terry Wrist claims that he and a bunch of Vietnam vets were going to underground bases and getting rid of extraterrestrials that were camping out in them. So you have a man named David who contacted Greg saying he had aliens attacking his home in Hellier, Kentucky, and the man who told him to contact Greg might be an alien butt-kicking Vietnam vet. How about that? So yeah, this whole, like I said, this first episode just kind of takes you on a wild little chase.
One day we're going to research something called Project Looking Glass.
Okay.
Remember that.
Okay. So now the episode. So we've gotten this far. All right. We've got our extraterrestrial butt kicking Vietnam vet who says he's going down into bases and
Into the domes.
and cleaning out these extraterrestrials that are camping in them. And
Now, how long ago was this? When was this written?
So the book itself was written in 1994.
Okay.
The book itself was written in 1994.
Okay.
All right. Now, 2012 is when all this is going down. So Greg gets the email in 2012. He starts chatting with the guy trying to be able to investigate these goblins in 2012. The guy ghosts him. He looks up Terry Wrist, finds this Vietnam alien butt-kicking vet. And now we're back in 2012. Okay. Still there. Dana and Greg visit Brown Mountain. So Mr. Barcelo just talked about Brown Mountain in our interview.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing a web series, and they visited Table Rock, investigating alien abductions in the area. While there, they discussed underground caves and military bases that are supposed to be in the area. The guest with them investigating on site said that a psychic had told him that right near where they were, there was supposed to be an entrance to one of these UFO bases. So they went and investigated this spot the psychic told them about. They didn't really find much except what might be a spot where there was an opening to a cave that a rock was in front of, and they couldn't get around it. The interesting thing that happened is that a little while after they went there to investigate this base at Table Rock, they got an email from Terry Wrist. So no, they have not talked.
They've never reached out to Terry Wrist.
No, they've never reached out to him, and they've never used his name either in any of the tweets or Facebook posts about the Hellier goblins. They never mentioned his name. So they get an email from Terry Wrist. Has a very cryptic message asking them, why did you stop when you were so close? I have something for you 1 week. Well, a week goes by, and then they get another email from the same guy who sent another cryptic message, this time mentioning Hellier specifically. Now, in their Facebook posts and everything, they actually had never mentioned Hellier either. They just mentioned, we got this weird thing going on. Here's some pictures of some footprints. What y'all think? So they never mentioned Hellier, Kentucky in any of their Facebook posts. So no way this guy should have known about that unless he was, in fact, the Terry Wrist that told David how to contact them. There was also an attachment of a photograph. And in the photograph was a series of numbers they later figured out were GPS coordinates. They later figured out that the coordinates led them right to the cave that they had been visiting while at Table Rock, North Carolina. So no one should have known about that. No one should have known except for, nobody even knew how to get to this cave except for the one guest that they had with them when they were filming this web series. He was the only person that knew how to get there. They go to this cave to investigate the idea that they said they were asking big questions like, how do you get abducted by aliens? These places in Brown Mountain and Table Rock and all of this were supposed to be, hotbeds where you could get abducted. So they were looking for this underground base that a psychic told this guy was supposed to be there. Nobody knew about it. They get an email with GPS coordinates of the exact spot saying, why did you stop when you were so close? I mean, that's creepy, right?
It's creepy, but rocks are heavy.
Well,
no. that's why we stopped. Did he answer? We stopped because the rocks were heavy.
So that's what he should have emailed back.
Right. And then maybe the conversation would have continued.
Okay.
My whole thing, I'm sitting like, yeah, okay, it's crazy that he emails him out of the blue and all, but you want me to go further? Tell me how.
There's that. So next, this show kind of makes another little jump. All right, it makes a jump to the Mothman prophecies. Okay, so we've got aliens attacking homes in Kentucky, and this book about contacting extraterrestrials using occult rituals. And
psychics
now
taking you to rocks.
Psychics taking you to maybe the entrance to underground caves. Now we have John Keel, who wrote the book, The Mothman Prophecies. John Keel used to get letters from people who called themselves the international bankers, who would tell him to stop looking into the phenomenon, and they were written in similar fashion as the emails from Terry Wrist. The only difference is the international bankers would tell John Keel, don't look into the Mothman prophecies. Don't look any further. This is dangerous. Terry Wrist is telling Greg Newkirk and his team, keep going. We want you to look.
You know, it's funny. I didn't have the attention span to get through the Mothman prophecy movie either.
Oh, I loved it. It was a great movie.
I'll try again.
We need to go visit Point Pleasant.
Well, yeah, after,
Yeah.
COVID.
So,
And Bigfoot.
One of the things they discovered while researching is that Kentucky, okay, has the Mammoth Cave system that runs all through the state and connects both Hellier and Hopkinsville. So they also discovered several more incidences. There were several more incidents of little green men terrorizing people, or people seeing these little green men, or referencing or telling stories or talking about them in Kentucky. And almost every single one of these points was connected to a cave or was near the entrance to the cave system. So now this is where we're going to talk about Geraldine Sutton Stith,
Okay.
who was the little girl who was in the farmhouse but didn't get to see the goblins.
Right.
All right. They got to meet her. They asked her where this happened, where the farmhouse was, where the alien spacecraft supposedly landed. Anywhere near there, is there a cave? She said,
yes.
There was. There was, in fact, a cave system right near where the UFO supposedly crashed. So two other interesting things that happened that also went along with their theory that the caves in Kentucky that might hold aliens. Let's see. While filming a video about the Mammoth Cave system, a young girl came up to them and started describing how her family saw these little monsters and then started to draw something that looked like a Kentucky goblin. The other thing that happened is that one weekend they went to Hellier and did a quick visit and found out that a UFO had been spotted and photographed in the area in 2012. So all this was happening in 2012. They got the email in 2012. It's the whole thing with David Christie and the goblins happened in 2012. Their visit to North Carolina, all of it was happening in that year. So that's what this series is about. That's what the Hellier docuseries is about. It's about the starting off point of supposed little green men, extraterrestrials, attacking someone, and they go off on every little lead that they come across. They look into the secret cipher of the UFO. I can't say that. UFO-nauts. That's how you say it. UFO-nauts. And it turns out that this book is actually the cipher itself. I want to say came from Aleister Crowley.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so the cipher that is supposedly used to help us communicate with
The golden something of the Hermetic Dawn.
that came from Aleister Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this
Golden Dawn of the Hermetic.
this series, they're going to take you on a wild ride. They take you into the idea of the god Pan and how he connects to all of this. They delve some more into the Mothman prophecies. They delve some more into the occult. It's a wild ride, and I suggest that everyone should at least check it out. Now, Aaron,
I'm never going to tell somebody not to watch something. I'm just going to warn you that you have to pay attention. And if you're like me and you have a million things to do all the time, it's hard to pay attention because they don't tell this story in chronology. They jump around and they confuse you. There's remarkably few people in it, but you're still confused by who's who. And they do any number of things that just it's like a concept film where you ever see that thing, the idea where anytime somebody says yes to you, you have to do what they say, or you know, a kind of a where the day takes you idea where like you're walking down the street and you run into something and you say, I'm gonna only make right turns today or whatever. And so you end up in all of these different places. And I get the one thing that makes sense to me that I get is that all of these theorists do need to talk to each other.
yes,
Ufologists and crypto, what do you call them? Cryptid people.
cryptozoologists.
Yeah, but you shortened it to something.
Well, the cryptids would be what you would
With
call the animals.
So okay, so
Yeah.
the cryptozoologists and all of them do need to talk to each other, because I actually do think that there is a common thread in all of that. You know, the if there are aliens out there in the world, I can't imagine that they are without some kind of belief system or conspiracy theory issue of their own. You know, why are they here? One of the explanations I heard that cracked me up was, you know, so you take a being that has the ability to develop a craft to fly it to another planet. Why are they going to come here and screw around with some hillbillies in Kentucky?
And possibly get shot.
Unless it's just, you know, the teenager aliens at midnight, you know, hanging out and they're bored and mom and dad are asleep. So they grab the saucer and just go see who they can screw with on Earth.
Well, there's also this idea that
I just don't know.
You know, I'd love to know if anybody in that household dealt with anything. Like I wonder if one of them was, say, like the carnival tarot reader. Because there's this idea that if you're looking at something, it's going to start looking back eventually. And that's what happens sometimes with extraterrestrials and ghosts, and is that we're looking into something and then sometimes that thing looks back. Mm-hmm. So, you know, what if they're bringing it on themselves?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, or it's really easy. And I've done this to people and I somewhat feel bad. Not really. Where you go down a thread, you know, you find a thread of something and it connects to something else and you get really excited about it. And you start telling it to other people and they will jump on it and they're in it with you. And so, I mean, I could totally see a family gathering where everybody's, you know, passing around a flask under the table and now I don't know how you get mass hallucination, how you get, you know, 8 people seeing the same little glowing thing to shoot at. That's it happens. I mean, all throughout psychology, there are stories of, you know, mass hallucinations where people do that. But I don't know.
I don't know that I could be that gullible. But who knows?
Under the right conditions.
Under the right conditions. If you're drunk enough.
Or if the rye bread went bad and you just didn't know. You know, I don't know. It's
Don't shoot at the monkeys.
Don't shoot at the monkeys, especially if they're painted silver, because they've suffered enough.
Right? There was probably lead paint too.
Right?
It was the 50s.
Their poor little babies are going to have learning disabilities.
I know.
It's all right. All right.
Well, anyway, guys, check out Hellier. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, it's going to take you on a whole bunch of different places. It's going to take you on a nice little ride.
If there's a Wikipedia on Hellier and there's a breakdown episode by episode, I'm all for that. I'll read that.
And there probably is. Maybe I can find that and put it in the show notes.
I mean, I don't knock them. And I think they went to some interesting places. I guess the other part of the problem that I had with Hellier, and I know we're wrapping up, is there was a lot of like confirmation bias. I lost the number of times I heard there's just no possible way. Yeah, there really is a possible way. What if Terry Wrist, what if he was somebody that knew Greg, is it?
Yeah, Greg Newkirk.
Yeah, what if he knew him in 4th grade and he was, bullied him or something, and he was just reading a book one day that he thought was cool, and or so, I don't know, and he got the name out of the back of that book and he used that. I mean, there's any way that yes, it could have happened, I
mean, you would think, I would love to ask Greg. One of the questions I would love to ask is, how often do you get somebody trying to prank you?
Yeah. I mean, because that's, to me, if you're going to send an email, first of all, I think that it would have to be somebody that knew Greg when he was younger. But obviously to have that email address from when he was 13. But then again, there are websites out there that can dig up every email you ever had. So I don't know. It seemed like to me that the whole thing started kind of as a prank because it sounds exactly like
what happened in Hopkinsville.
And it sent them on this goose chase. And then if you're looking for some kind of synchronicity, you are going to find it.
And that is something they discuss all the way through the show, is synchronicities.
Yeah. They keep saying there's no way this could happen without that. Synchronicity is kind of, the way I define it is almost in a physics term, is that in physics, when particles are synchronized or when they have synchronicity, what you do, like it's an atom situation when you can generate one atom in 2 places at the same time. What you do to one happens to the other across space. So when people talk about a synchronous, incident or something, they're talking about how these things are connected somehow that we're not seeing. We know that when you affect part A, part B does exactly the same thing. So they keep talking about this synchronicity that it's coincidental.
Well, now synchronicity, the way I, think of it is it's a meaningful coincidence. It's a coincidence where the universe is trying to tell you something.
Or did you assign meaning to it?
Well, that's a philosophical question. It really is, because the idea
and science doesn't ask why; it just asks how.
and the idea of a true synchronicity is it is a meaningful coincidence. The universe is trying to tell you something,
and I totally believe in synchronicity. I just don't think that all this was synchronicity. Maybe some of it was, but I don't think all of it was.
But I think part of the fun is that they do go on every little chase.
Right.
They
leave no stone unturned.
Exactly. And I
want to play the radio game.
Oh, so the God box. Yeah, that's something that she and I were talking about doing. So basically what this is if I was the one in the box, basically a spirit box. So I would have on headphones and something to cover my eyes. And the only thing I can hear is somewhat the radio station's changing. And you never stay on a radio station for long, and the radio stations are changing. That's the only thing I can hear. Erin is asking me questions.
And she can't hear me.
And I can't hear her. And I am repeating what the radio is saying.
So it's like thinking about, if you're old enough to remember this, the scan function on your radio. You could hit the scan function and it would cycle through every radio station it could pick up. And then if you heard something that you wanted to hear, you hit it again and it stops and it plays that song. So this is like a scan function, a super fast scan function that will cycle through every radio station that can be picked up. And then what you're doing, if you're wearing the blindfold and the headphones, is you're repeating whatever word you make out that you hear. And so like I would be sitting next to Summer and I would, ask her a question, why did you call us here? And she would be just repeating whatever words come out of the radio. It's like stickomancy, if you've ever heard of that, where you hold a book, any book, and you ask a question, you open it up and you just put your finger on a word and you read that sentence. And a lot of times it'll make sense. But so it's like that.
Yeah. So we're talking about doing that. We want to try it out. Now, of course, we're going to have, the redneck Southern version of this. I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll figure it out. But there actually are apps for the Spirit Box.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, there are apps. Cool. So we could definitely try this. And if we try this, we are definitely going to record it.
Summer, what color are you dyeing your hair next?
Okay. So we really are wrapping up. I promise.
All right, we're done.
So we ended up recording the entire thing.
We did.
We were just going to record.
That was 2 hours and 9 minutes. So for those who get the podcast, Kevin has an hour to cut out.
So, yeah. And my dog is messing with the light again.
It's possessed.
So we ended up re-recording the whole thing live. We were just going to do the top 5 weird things of the week and then say, okay, guys, if you want to hear it, it's going to be on the podcast. But, hey, that might be what happens next week. But we are actually, for next week, just to let you know, Aaron and I are going to be discussing conspiracy theories again, only this time it's going to be a little different. We have actually both picked out a book that is saying that conspiracy theories are bad, that conspiracy theories are stupid, that we are stupid for believing them. That is what these books are asserting. And so as conspiracy people, we thought, hey, let's read these books. It'll be fun. So that's what we're going to talk about. And also, I might have another interview coming up from Lauren Coleman, who is the operator of the Maine International Paranormal and Cryptozoology Museum. Cool. So it'll be a lot of fun. And that's going to be next week. So this podcast will show up on Thursday. Everybody have a good night. What we always say about this podcast is don't listen to us, do your own research. You can check us out at mamaniteowl.com. We're on Twitter, Mad World Podcast, and Mama Night Owl Podcast. So everybody have a good night. Goodbye.